Yeah, he sees the bat signal. He's like, underneath.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to a new episode of Mostly Wrong Opinions. I am Tyrone. That is Devin. This is the review and spoiler review for the Batman.
Get out of here!
Full spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie, I'm sorry. It's going to be destroyed for you.
You might as well get the
Full
hell
spoilers.
on and then come back. Okay?
Exactly.
Anyone who has anything to say about Robert Pattinson, again, just exit the door. Exit the door.
Yeah, I always felt like that was, and that was kind of the whole point of why we reviewed those two movies. I always feel like that was like a thing out of ignorance. You know, people will just talk. You know, they don't. We talk about this all the time. How people will just start running their mouth, and then the talk will just go on forever for no reason. So like, there's all this talk about Robert Pattinson being the guy from Twilight, but like, that was 20 years ago, and he has just been absolutely destroying the game. Like, and anybody who doesn't know that, so like, whenever I hear someone speak, like, it's like, oh, the guy from Twilight, I'm like, oh, okay, I see. You don't watch movies. You haven't seen. You don't know what you're talking about. Got it. This is ignorance. But his take on Batman was great, and I would like to start at the top. The first 30 minutes of this film were the best 30 minutes of Batman I've ever seen anywhere. That's the best 30 minutes of Batman I've read in any comic, any video game, any movie ever.
Are you talking about better than the animated series, my friend?
Better than the animated series. That first 30 minutes was killer. Oh. That was like destruction. Yeah. Where Batman was nowhere, and yet he was everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
That scene is that the concept of that is that where when his light shines up in the sky, is people, it's just not, a signal, it's a freaking warning that if you out there, that you're a criminal and you doing something stupid, you have fear that if you look in the shadows, he could be there. That's why.
And one day he will be there. Is that going to be today? Is this worth it? Whatever you about to do, are you about to spray paint that wall? Do you really want to do it right now? Like, do you really want to? You can. And there's these long shots of just like a doorway, and there's nothing in the doorway, and it's just like that thing's like dun 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 dun. Like, I'm like, oh, that's great. Yeah. Crazy, and the guy's he's got like spray paint in his hand. He's like, oh no. Oh no. That first 30 minutes, to me it was like Matt Reeves was like, I know Batman. I understand Batman, and more importantly, I like Batman. This is the thing that I feel like Zack Snyder has never been able to do. And I've said to you a million times, I'm like, either Zack Snyder does not know these characters, or he knows them and doesn't like them. Matt Reeves starts off and he's like, I know Batman, and I know you know Batman. So I'm going to tell you my version of the Batman that I love. And it was like, it was amazing. I was like, and Batman was not there. That's the cool thing about it. Mm-hmm. Batman's not there. And then when he does finally reveal himself, walks out of the shadows,
the first clunking shoes.
Right. It's cool. It's the whole thing, the sound, his outfit actually makes like a crunchy, weird, creaky sound. But when Batman finally came out, like, he wasn't really scary. He was like shocking and like weird, and then he comes out and everybody's like, who is this guy dressed like this? And he just beats the snot out of one of these guys, and they're like, oh, we're not dealing with a weirdo, we're dealing with a psycho. This guy is sick in the head, and we need to go. Like, that's what like the thugs were like. Exactly. Like, we need to get out of here. And then this ended up being really important later on. The man that he was trying to save was also cowering in fear, and he was like, please don't hurt me, please don't, and Batman's like, and that of course comes up later on, or at the end of the film, he realizes that you can't just be vengeance, you need a hero. that thing that, again, Zack Snyder forgets all the time. That, Superman will just level a city and just walk away. But Batman, at the end of this film, it goes on for quite a while.
No,
where
but
Batman is just rescuing people.
Remember when Jonathan was just saying you have to be a signal of hope to the people, son?
Yeah, but see, there's such a difference between someone just saying that and then the movie showing it to us, right? Is much more cinematic when we can see Batman in the daylight where he's very uncomfortable, actually saving people, right? Being like a hero. Like,
the overall look of this film is like butter. Okay,
you know why it looks like this? Ooh. The cinematographer is the same cinematographer who did Dune. He's currently nominated for an Oscar. So, like, it looks amazing.
It's butter. Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman, she did really well in this film. Did not see that connection that she has in this film with one of the main players of this film when it comes to solving the issue and the crime. Yeah,
it turns out she was like Falcone or Falcon.
Falcone.
Falcone, yeah. They pronounce his name differently, which was smart because there's a Maroni and a Falcone, so they pronounce it Falcone, which I think is probably more Italian anyway. But yeah, it turns out she was Falcone's daughter. I didn't like any of that stuff. I'm like, nah, we don't need any of that. Trim the fat. Okay. We don't need that. Okay. She doesn't. Does she need any more motivation to kill a mob boss? Like, I don't know. I feel like that was not necessary.
The motivation for her to kill a mob boss without him being the dad that was never there, the dad who killed her mom. The motivation in the story to me for her to kill him is his involvement with the killing of her best friend. So
or her girlfriend. I think it seemed like they were in a relationship. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, we didn't need any extra motivation. That's like a little extra cream on top of your ice cream, and a cherry on top of the cream. Like, I feel like we don't need all that.
The Penguin, played by Colin Farrell. Colin Farrell disappeared in there with the help of the prosthetics, man, and his voice is changed. And I'm like, I hear no Irish, nothing.
Yeah. I couldn't even believe that was even Colin Farrell in there. I was like looking at him. I was like, is that really him? If you told me I was like, that wasn't Colin Farrell, maybe I just misread something, I'd have been like, oh, okay, I would have believed you, because amazing.
I wanted more scenes with him though, but
I've heard that a lot.
I get that he was like a connection piece.
There's this great action scenes, like chase scene with the Batmobile.
Oh my God.
It is incredible. It's like Batman in traffic. Who would have thought that would have been incredible? But it was great. And then at the end of it, turns out Batman was wrong. Penguin wasn't the guy. And Penguin like laughed in his face. And I liked that they let Batman be wrong. Yeah, exactly. That brings him down to earth. It makes him like a human being. And he's sitting there. He's like, you're the one. You're the rat with wings, or whatever. He's like, no, a falcon has wings too. And it's like, fuck. It's like, your Spanish is wrong. He's like, oh, damn. Batman did all this research.
It's not L, it's law.
Yeah, exactly. So he did all this research, and Batman was wrong.
Not only was he wrong then, but he was wrong twice in this film.
He was wrong multiple times. I agree. He was wrong multiple times in this film. And we talked about this as well with Casino Royale, where they let Bond be wrong, and they let Bond make mistakes, right? Where it turned Bond into a character. This one turned Batman into a character, and specifically Batman, because Robert Pattinson is Batman 90% of this film. He's not Bruce Wayne, he's Batman. And whenever Bruce Wayne shows up, you can tell that he's really uncomfortable, right? Like he's not used to being Bruce Wayne. His true self is Batman. Bruce Wayne is pale. He's thin. He's got black around his eyes because he hadn't washed his face yet. His hair is long and stringy. He looks like he smells funny, right? Like he's not really a fully formed human as Bruce Wayne. He's only ever a fully formed human as Batman, and he's Batman all the time. Like, he doesn't take that thing off. And so I thought it was like he sleeps in it. Like, it looks great. I just thought that was such a great and unique take.
Like his mansion, so depressing.
Yeah, it was like falling apart. He didn't give a fuck. It looked like him, right? Like he looked like a Bruce Wayne, like a mess. He was pale and thin and gross.
I have an interesting outlook on the eye makeup in Batman Returns, where Michael Keaton's Batman took off his cowl. Well, first he had his cowl just shot, and he had the eye makeup on. Then he took out the cowl, and the eye makeup's gone. And the thing is, I guess Tim Burton was kind of making it seem like, oh, it's all funny if it's weird that if he has the eye makeup on when he takes the cowl off. But Matt Reeves was like, who cares? You're human.
He just leans into the weirdness of it. Like, this is a guy who when he sees the bat signal in the sky, he puts on eye makeup. You know what I mean? It's like a theatricality of it, you know? And I really like that. Like you said, Tim Burton kind of hit that, you know? And also the tone of Tim Burton's films were very fantastical. So it didn't feel odd that the eye makeup was missing when he took the mask off. The eye makeup wasn't even applied evenly. It was smeared all across his face. And like, I really like that quite a bit.
Yeah, he sees the bat signal. He's like, underneath.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's right. We've talked about how I kind of wish that we could move on from this like grounded Batman thing. And I always kind of wanted like a more fantastic Batman so we can get in more villains.
You said that last time. You sure did.
But this Batman, it was interesting. It wasn't so much fantastic, but it was weird. Like, and the weirdness of it, I think, opens this thing up to Batman's Rogues Gallery. I think it's the first movie I've seen. Yeah, I could see a Mr. Freeze here. You know, I could never see a Mr. Freeze in the Nolan verse. You know, but I could see some version of a Mr. Freeze here. So I like that the weirdness, the offness of not just Batman, but Gotham City itself opens up Batman's rogue galleries for the first time probably since the Schumacher area, right? The much mocked Schumacher area. Era, excuse me. So I really enjoyed that quite a bit.
Well, with that being said, the Riddler gets caught, okay? And it's part of his plan to get caught. And he's kind of like a social media bad guy in this film. But he gets caught and he's in Arkham, and there is a particular person that is next to him. And we all have a good feeling that that person is going to be the Joker in a future film.
I absolutely hated that part. My blood was like boiling. I almost wanted to like avert my eyes. I was like, because I was really enjoying myself. I was like, yeah, this is great. And then they come in with the fan service trash, and I'm like, no. It's just like it felt like there was like someone took a shit on my Corvette, right? It was like sitting on the hood, and I'm like,
don't not do my 1978 vintage leather Corvette.
Exactly, not my Corvette, not the Vet, baby. That's what it felt like. So the movie, to be fair to the movie, the guy was unnamed, right? We know because of interviews or whatever that's supposed to be Joker, but the character was unnamed, and his name is unnamed prisoner. I don't give a rat's ass who that is. I am glad this movie did not dwell on it. It was just one scene, probably under 5 minutes. I know that's for the dorks and the nerds, and we're supposed to be talking about it and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So for me, fan service, I get serviced when the movie's good, right? That's fan service for me, right? You make a good movie, I'm gonna smile, right? Right. Don't show me things that I'm supposed to recognize. I don't like this. I don't like playing the I know that reference game. I don't like that. To me, it feels very childish and very low. And in this movie, which I thought was just so elevated, for it to like come down like that, it kind of scared me a little bit.
It dipped for like how much was that? Probably like 4 minutes.
Yeah, dialogue? quick. But it was that was a deep dip. It was like ooh. And I was like, oh my god. I got vertigo. My stomach flipped when that happened. So I didn't like any of that.
Wanted to avert your eyes. You're like,
Yeah, I was like, don't do this, don't do it. But the more subtle stuff where he talks about like Hush seemed to be in here. Like I like that. I like more stuff towards like subtle hints that maybe Bane could exist here because Batman injects himself with adrenaline, but the adrenaline was like a glowy green,
and he was enraged.
Yeah, so I could
more than usual.
Exactly. So that kind of stuff, I like that. If it's a little more subtle, if it's too on the nose, it feels tacky. And the Joker thing was tacky to me. I didn't like that at all.
There's a scene where Alfred is picking up a letter, and a certain angle in that scene, you can see the wide angle where you see Alfred, the table, and a bunch of stuff in the background. I noticed something.
Yeah, the William Shakespeare thing, right?
The William Shakespeare thing is from Adam West.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, oh.
So little subtle nods like that, where the movie doesn't stop to be like, this is from Adam West. You know, I don't. If it's subtle like that, okay. But like,
I knew you're a fan of that, and I knew you saw what I saw.
Right.
But I wonder if anyone else sees that. You know,
I'm sure they did.
Put in the comments if you guys seen what I seen.
What I did see, and I bet everybody saw, was Paul Dano's The Riddler, which I thought was fantastic. I liked that the Riddler was scary, he was creepy, and he was kind of giddy. He was still more or less the Riddler, you know. He was who he was, a cackling, laughing guy, but he cackled and laughed at things you shouldn't be cackling and laughing at, which made him really scary, right? Made him really off-putting. Like he'd start humming a song while he's taping some guy to a chair. Like I thought that was great, you know?
When your villainy is like, I kind of understand what you're going through, brother. I get your point. It's like, you're not just out here just destroying a city for gold or for more power. You're like, you know what? The power is corrupt within this city, and it affected me. It affected me personally as a child.
Yeah.
So therefore, my affection for this, or my anger, which is my vengeance, is going to be put out upon the world. I was like, oh, bravo.
And then. And which brings me to like another thing that really stuck out to me. Let's compare this to Zack Snyder, right? Look at the stakes from Zack Snyder's Justice League versus the stakes for the Batman. The stakes for Zack Snyder's Justice League, it's like the whole galaxy is about to collapse or something, right? And you're fighting like some big alien guy with horns on his head. Even though the stakes are bigger, you are not invested in this movie, right? But what you do care about is the bridges blowing up in Gotham, right? Well, only one small part of Gotham got flooded, and it felt like the world ended. You know what I mean?
Man,
and
I was like,
because the stakes were so much big, it felt personal stakes felt bigger.
Out of this.
Yeah.
I was like, because that was the other mistake that I was gonna say. Batman didn't see what the first clue was, and when it comes to the item,
exactly,
and I was
he missed a major clue.
He missed a major clue,
which caused half of Gotham to flood.
That does not mean he's a bad Batman. That just means he is a human Batman that makes mistakes and he's growing. It's his second freaking year. You know what I'm saying?
I loved that. I love that they allowed him to make mistakes. And it reminded me a lot of Batman Earth One, which I've talked to you about. I've chewed your ear off about it. But they really leaned in onto this Earth One thing where the Batcave appears to be like in a subway system and stuff like that. But there's this scene in a famous scene in Earth One where Batman, he's trying to be scary and he's like jumping across the rooftops, but he slips and falls into some garbage, right? That's like the opening scene in Batman Earth One. In this one, Batman has to escape from the Gotham headquarters, and he jumps off the building, and it's like, wow, Batman did it! But he lands so hard, I thought he was gonna break his arm or something. He's very ungraceful, very un-Batman-like. I like that they let Batman hurt, they let him bleed, and that reminded me a lot of John Wick, where John Wick spends the whole movie getting his ass kicked, and that is kind of part of the film, you know?
Yeah, and not only did he get hurt and tumble, he was scared. He was nervous when he got up there. He was like, Oh, okay.
And I liked that a lot because sometimes Batman seems so perfect, right? It's kind of the joke. It's like, oh, how did you know that? And Batman's like, because I'm Batman. You know, he knows everything, you know? But this guy, he's unsure of himself. He has doubts. Sometimes he thinks he's doing the right thing, but then it turns out he's not. He makes mistakes. I like that stuff. I thought it was great. And I thought it was interesting. The one clue that he missed was because he's a rich guy, right? He missed what that tool was. That it was like a carpet tool. Why would Bruce Wayne know that that's a carpet tool? He's never pulled up a carpet in his life, right?
Exactly.
So he's like, oh, okay, here's a thingamajig, great. But then it took like a cop, you know, who was like, oh yeah, my cousin pulls up carpet. Use that to pull up carpet, and he's like, fuck, you know, he missed the clue, you know, because he's got blind spots of being, you know, Mr. Richie Rich.
I like how Matt Reeves uses silence very well in this.
He does.
And then when it comes to Batman's silence, personally, like when people is talking to him, he don't even say stuff sometimes.
No,
he's just like.
There's a lot of scenes with just Batman, just like standing there, you know, talking. Sometimes he's scribbling in a notebook because he's actually being a detective, you know. And so he's just standing there, and there are regular people around him, and people, they just can't like take their eyes off of him. You know, they're like, what's with this dude? You know,
this dude just dressed up like a bat.
Yeah, and then they're looking at him funny, and it makes them look at Commissioner Gordon funny. They're like, dude, are you okay to allow this Batman in here? You know. And so I felt like just his presence allowed him to be quiet. It's like this is an odd dude. Clearly, he's thinking of things that we are not thinking of. His eye will linger like on some blood splatter. And then, like, the photographer came behind him. He was like, "Oh, let me take a picture of that shit," you know, just in case that's important, you know. So I like the presence, that the way they filmed Batman. And sometimes, like you said, it was very quiet, very silent.
You know that what wasn't silent in this film? Let's go back to that penguin chase scene. The Batmobile is ridiculous.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know about your theater. I felt it in my seats.
Me too. My theater too was like,
and they're not automated like seats that rumble and stuff.
Yeah, just the sound.
That sound was moving through my body like I was at a concert, and I was
yeah. And so you the sound is so crazy. And you're looking at a car, right? You kind of expect to see like a jet, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's a car with like a jet engine on the back. And you're like, oh, this guy's insane. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
you've used this word several times throughout this review.
And I love that so much because one of my favorite things about the 1989 Batman was that Bruce Wayne was clearly off, right? That was the only Batman that I can think of where Bruce Wayne's psychologically something was broken in Bruce Wayne. And this one, same thing. Bruce Wayne is insane. When Penguin's running from the Batman and he made this big explosion, he's like, I got you, ha ha. And then Batman comes exploding out of it. Penguin's like, this guy's lost it.
He's lost his mind.
This is a crazy. I'm not dealing with a regular guy. Something is wrong with this man.
And when he tips him over and he walks up to the car, he looks at him for a long time.
Yeah, he gets like a villain shot, right? Because Batman like looks into the car, and it just hangs there for quite some time. This movie has like a horror movie vibe going on.
Yes.
And the monster is Batman. It's so Batman gets all the shots that you'd expect like Ghostface to get in Scream, you know, or Michael Myers to get in Halloween. They all go to Batman, right?
Lurk in the shadows, come out of nowhere.
Yeah. And I was like, man, if you're a little kid and you saw this, I think you'd be scared, right? The way they shot Batman. And I thought that's what Batman is trying to do. He's trying to scare you. So I thought that was great.
To that point to where, the horror film element, the first scene where he's about to kill the mayor, and that the mayor moves and the camera stays there and focus in on the Riddler in the background in the dark. I was like, whoa!
Yeah, that was great. Yeah. Not only do we get like Batman vision, right? We see what Batman sees, but the first time we see the Riddler, we see his vision, and he's looking at this rich man in a mansion, playing with his wife, playing with a little boy, playing dress up because it's Halloween. Great Batman on Halloween. I love it. Right. Yeah. And so you're like, is this little Bruce Wayne and his parents? Is a flashback, and this comes back over and over where Bruce, he keeps looking at this little boy because he knows he can recognize himself in this little boy who's now suddenly an orphan, which makes me think this is the first time in a long time where I think I could see a Robin showing up in this universe.
People were saying that in the theater. They was like, "Oh, that's Robin. That's Robin."
I hope to God that's not Robin, but I can see a Robin coming in. You know, this film feels very open, which leads me to my last point before we get to our rating. I hope that this film series ends. I don't want this to go on forever. I don't want 20 of these. I don't want 30 of these. I want maybe 3 and then move on. Did
he sign on for 4?
I think he signed on for 3, but I'm not sure. I don't know his contract. But I don't want this to be a MCU Marvel thing where we just ram it into the ground, right? We get so many movies until you're sick of it, till you're like throwing up. You're just overwhelmed with how much Iron Man you're getting, right? And so you just can't wait to the final movie where Iron Man fucking dies, right? I don't want to do this. I want 3 movies gone. I hope they've got like a nice contained story. That way we don't get sick of this. It can be too much of a good thing.
I agree with you, man. I think that 3 is good enough. I think that this start off for Robert Pattinson as the Batman, perfect for him. He showed his acting talents from behind a mask. Okay,
right. But this film ends on a hopeful note, right? This is the most hopeful Batman I've ever seen. It ends with Batman helping people in the daylight get out of the rubble. It ends with him realizing that he's got to show his face to people in order for them not to cower, in order for the good guys not to cower in fear when he's there.
Yep. Because the cops didn't trust him.
Right.
The city didn't know to trust him when he was saving them in front of them. It's his character development. Because Batman was making choices.
Batman made choices. Batman made mistakes. And Batman had an arc. The Batman at the beginning of the film was one way, and the Batman at the end of the film was another way.
For everything that I've said, that we've said about this film is a masterpiece. So I'm giving this film a 10 out of 10.
I am so hesitant to give this movie a 10 out of 10, but I kind of want to. I'm only going to not give it a 10 out of 10. I'm going to give it a 9.5. I'm going to knock it down because the length is a long movie. Boy. And like I said, there can be too much of a good thing. Now, I don't know what they're going to cut. If you're going to cut this film, I don't know what you could possibly cut. But it's long. It's a long movie, and it might be too long in some places. And also the fact that I haven't seen it more than once, I feel like I got to see a movie more than once to give it a 10. But damn it, this is the closest I'll ever get to giving a movie a 10 without ever seeing it again. Like this exceeded expectations. So I was genuinely blown away. To me, this is the best Batman film that we've gotten. And I would have never thought to say that after The Dark Knight. All the pitfalls that I thought Nolan fell into, with like Batman being like, a symbol. What kind of... And you're like, it's a bat. Okay, let's go. It's Batman. Go, you know. They zip past all that shit. They're like, look, he's Batman. Don't ask why. He just is. We're moving on. His parents died. Don't ask why. Even he was like, I don't even know what's going on with my parents. Go. And the movie zipped past all that. There's nothing to even say about Heath Ledger. It hasn't already been said. But I thought Paul Dano's Riddler was very close.
Very close.
And again, the Riddler is a character that could easily go sideways, right? He could easily turn into a cartoon, right? And
Jim Carrey.
Yeah, exactly. Jim Carrey really leaned into it. Paul Dano's cartoonishness was still there, but it was more of a menace. Someone asked Matt Reeves before the movie came out to describe his Batman, and he said that Matt Reeves is, of course, the director, and he said Batman is a tool. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, he's like a tool to fight crime, like a hammer or something. But no, when you watch the movie, I think he meant Batman is a tool, as in like he's psycho. I think he's, you know. So I thought that was really funny.
Oh man, yeah. I think, yeah. I think you're right on that, man.
Yeah.
So you recommend it?
I do recommend it. I think it's great. If you don't like Batman, if you haven't seen Batman before, I think you will still like this, because this is like you said, a detective film. This is a mystery that you've got to dig at. It's not Reference City, right? We're not just looking at things that we recognize all the time, except for that one scene, which we're not going to talk about. But other than that, it's not that. This is a true detective story. It's a mystery that has to be unraveled, and I feel like anybody can enjoy that. So I do recommend it.
I gave this film a 10. Devin gave this film a 9.5. That is our review, spoiler review for The Batman. Dun, 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 dun. I'm not gonna keep doing the music, but
hey, but speaking of that music, I like that it sounded like a Jaws theme song, right? Like it was like so simple, right? Hunting. Yeah. Again, and Jaws was a horror movie, and so to give Batman like this horror theme song, love it. Great choice. I think Batman has never been in better hands than right now with Matt Reeves. But
I thank you guys for clicking on this video. You know how you guys can help us get up to more subscribers and more likes. You can do just that. Hit that subscribe button right there. Boop, 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 boop. It's red. All right, hit it. And if you liked our review, go ahead and hit that thumbs up. It really does help out the channel. Or you can hit the thumbs down, and you could just be like, I love Twilight still. and Robert Pattinson will always be Edward. Whatever you decide, it is your opinion. But just remember one thing, it's mostly wrong. See you guys in another video.